If you haven't purchased your ticket to Iceland yet, I suggest you do that sooner rather than later. The European Union just voted on a legislation that will drastically increase the tax on CO2 emissions in flights. This is a good thing, I suppose. It will hopefully reduce the number of unnecessary flights and encourage the European people to travel by train, for example. But in case you haven't noticed, Iceland is in the middle of nowhere, and the only way in and out of the country is by a plane.
This plane won't make it to Iceland!
Unless you have about 2 to 3 days to spare to take a boat from Denmark, only to reach land in Siglufjörður, which is in the middle of nowhere, of a country that's already in the middle of nowhere. Then you need to get back home, and that will take you another 2 to 3 days. Without flights, we are stuck on this desert island with no McDonald's and just a single IKEA.
But I want McDonald's hamburger.
I get the purpose of this law, but wouldn't it make more sense to put the tax on takeoffs, making short-haul flights and private flights more expensive and less attractive? And leave it to this German guy to say that this is a great opportunity for Icelanders.
I see opportunities in Iceland because you have a lot of renewable energies, low density of citizens, so you can produce these sustainable fuels more cost efficient than many other countries in Europe.
Sure, we'll get right on that. I'm sure our sparsely populated geniuses can figure out how to get a geothermal power plant on a plane instead of gas. Anyways, if you were in Iceland last week, then you need to check your credit card statements. The Central Bank of Iceland decided to drop the fractions from the Icelandic krona, called aurar. The resulting change caused some transactions to go through as 1/10 of the original amount and some 100-fold the original amount. I bought a pizza in IKEA, and this is no lie, it cost me 129,000 kronas. That's just under $1,000. I could have traveled to Sweden for pizza for that amount, with the carbon tax. Except who wants to go to Sweden? So come to think of it, this was a good deal. I got a pizza and I didn't have to go to Sweden. So this is being corrected by the banks, but it's good to make sure to check your statements for the $10,000 puffin bottle opener or whatever it is that you tourists buy in the puffin shops. Unless you got one of those 1/10 transactions, then, perhaps just keep quiet about that. A raven pair has set up nest in Bíkó in Selfoss for the 9th year in a row, making this the longest lasting relationship in Iceland for the 3rd year in a row. So Bíkó is the equivalent of Home Depot, except it's a lot more expensive and it has a lot fewer options. But they set up a live cam pointing at the nest, link in the description. It's mostly just sleeping ravens. Why you would want to watch that is anybody's guess. Just let me know when the eggs hatch. So the road to Siglufjörður is sagging and some rocks are falling, leading to locals demanding tunnels. It seems to me that the problem has mostly been solved with a sign. I have never understood those signs. Careful, falling rocks and sagging roads. I don't know what to do about that. Anyways, don't say I didn't warn you. Let's get to the weather. I have terrible news. This isn't quite spring yet. It's just a fake spring. It's gonna be cold, it's gonna be long, and we have to wait a little bit for the summer. Doesn't look too bad for the next few days though, but have a great trip.